Motivation. I'm motivated. But what do you do when motivation is not enough? You rely on your work ethic. You rely on your discipline. That's mentality. Now let's get it. What's going on, everybody? This is Julian Peters with Mentality Podcast. I'm back. I'm excited for this guy I got on my podcast today, Mr. Jonathan Pelkey. He is actually, and I'm not boosting right now, one of my favorite bodybuilding competitors of this new generation right now, for sure. He's class physique guy. So, John, what's going on?
Not a lot, man. How you doing?
Doing all right. Doing all right. Steady going. You know how it is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, a little bit about Jonathan. He is a classic physique competitor. I would argue that it's Terrence Ruffin and then Jonathan as far as the best posers in the game. I'll debate that with anybody. And you are Mr. USA, right? Classic?
Yes, sir. 2019.
19. How old were you when you got that?
I guess I was 26.
26.
I'm an oldie. I'm a little oldie.
Nah, I'm old.
These young kids out here turning pro at 19, 22.
Right. So leading into that, so what's your background? I know you played some sports, you did some things like that. So what's your background?
Yeah, so football was my main sport, but I'm from a small town, so I played 5 sports. I played football, wrestling, powerlifting, and then baseball and track. And then I even did a little show choir too.
Okay. So all around, what was your favorite sport?
Definitely football, but track was a close second. I was a long jumper, and I love the art of long jump. So
okay. Did you have any like aspirations of going next level or anything like that, or?
Nah, it was always straight football whenever I was growing up, and then track kind of came along later on. And I like track a lot, and looking back, I wish I would have went that route, but I was always football, so I got an offer for football, and that's what I went through with. So I went to UCO for that.
Oh, you went to UCO? Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right. So about to put you on the spot here. 2 questions, 2 parts. Your top 5 favorite physiques and your top 5 favorite posers.
Is this all time or current or what?
All time.
All time. Okay, I got a pen and pad just for things like this. All right. Top 5 physiques all time. So I know for sure. I got the pen and the pad so I don't go over 5 because I got a lot.
No, you good.
But I'd have to say that my favorite physique ever is Samir Bannout. Samir Bannout. That dude. Now I tell you what, I don't. Hopefully he don't end up watching this podcast because I don't want him to know that. Because he's kind of seems like a jerk a little bit, but I love his physique and his posing. But you got Samir Bannout, I'd say number 1. I really like Serge Nubret is another one. Serge Nubret, like back in Arnold's day. Dang, let me see. So you said physiques and posers though?
Posers, like we'll separate them.
That makes it tough because some of them I love their physique because they pose so well. So
okay,
I'm gonna bounce back and forth, but I'm keeping tabs so I know we don't go too far.
No, you're good. You got plenty of time, man.
No, I'm just saying that because I could talk about this all day.
That's fine. Trust me.
My favorite poser of all time is Muhammad Makaway.
Okay,
Muhammad Makaway. He's a gangster. And then second favorite poser. I don't know. It's hard to even say that it's second or first, but Lee Labrada.
Okay.
He was an OG.
Mm-hmm.
Dang. So let me think now. Physiques. Man, that's tough. I'm gonna miss somebody. I'm gonna miss somebody for sure.
My homeboy, the last one, he missed Phil Heath. And not that it's scared, but he was doing bodybuilding. He put Arnold last. And I was like, about Phil Heath, he was like, oh my, how did I forget Phil Heath? So it happens, bro.
You know what? I can say, so I wouldn't put Phil Heath on my list. And that's because I guess I'm just not too familiar with his prime physique. Whenever he had the nice waistline and stuff, I've seen pictures and stuff, but that when I think Phil Heath, that's not what I think about just because of my timeline. So, but that helped me think of some. So like Flex Wheeler,
Mhm. That's
Flex
my
Wheeler.
favorite all time.
Yeah, he's probably got the best physique, just best well-rounded physique I've ever seen. Man, where do I go? Yeah, give me some more ideas. Who else are some good ones out there?
So you're more of a classic type of guy as far as
Yeah, but old school, like more
yeah,
old school.
old school classic.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on like a Frank Zane?
I definitely it's definitely an iconic. He's definitely an icon. His physique is definitely one of the greats, but I don't know that I could say that it's one of my favorites because I'm kind of picky. Like I really like the leg details.
Yeah, and that was lacking back then for the most
Yeah,
part.
Frank Zane had really good shape and flow, but he didn't have all the details. So that makes me think of like a Bob Paris, though. I think I would put Bob Paris on my list.
I like Bob Paris
Um,
from the business aspect too. Like he kind of got it on both
well,
sides.
he was just he didn't care too much to be marketable. He was one of the first openly gay bodybuilders,
Yeah,
and whenever things went south because of he was just like, well, forget it then. I'm gonna do my thing. He's always kind of been like that. So
but that's one of Cutler's biggest inspirations as well. I
really,
read
I didn't know
something
that.
he read some books that Bob did or something like that, which kind of got him. He said to think about more of the business side of
Yeah,
bodybuilding, which is, I mean, Cutler is probably the GOAT when it comes to that, as
right,
far as
right.
knowing how to use this for business and everything. So yeah,
Yeah, that's definitely a whole different aspect that people forget about sometimes. But that makes me think too. That makes me think about Sean Ray.
I was about to bring
So
him up. You brought yeah,
yeah,
I was about to bring
Sean Ray. He's another guy that I don't think I like his person. I've never met him actually, but based on social media, YouTube stuff like that, I don't like Sean Ray's personality. But he is another one that's one of the greatest physiques of all time for sure. So there's my five. So I can stop trying to think about that.
There you go.
That was Sean Ray. So then can I have one guy on both of my lists?
Yeah, for sure.
So Sean Ray, he's a great poser as well, and Samir Bannout. Both of those guys, and then man, I don't want to leave it. So I'll say Frank Zane, just because I feel like Frank Zane kind of changed the game when it comes to posing. Just I don't know, I can't put my finger on it exactly like how exactly he did it, but he's another guy. I like guys that they show up and they're like, not like, hey, I want to be like Arnold or I want to be like such and such. They show up like, hey, I'm Frank Zane. You know what I mean? Like I'm here to do me. So
Definitely.
all right, so there's my five on both of them.
All
I'm
right.
off the
So
clock.
so with that, we'll go right into this next topic that I wanted to discuss, because this is something that I feel like you are not only, it's incredible because you're still growing and developing in it, but you're also at an expert level already to me, and that's posing. I am a big fan of posing, but obviously I do posing on a different side. I'm in physique, where you got your start in this game. But when it comes to classic physique, I can tell that you are detailed, you practice, you bring out some movements and different flows and transitions that not a lot of people are doing. But everybody, when you're on stage, people are watching and they're glued to every movement. So what got you into posing? Because you do have an old school type of posing style, that's not seen, especially for somebody your age. I know you would really have to go back and research and really look at things to get this type of style you have.
Right. So I'll start by saying like whenever I first got into like actually bodybuilding, and I don't mean like competitions because that was like 2017, but I started bodybuilding in probably like 2012, and what I mean by that is like I started actually trying to focus on bringing up certain body parts and eating certain type of foods and things like that. And whenever I did that, I always just would like research. I would Google, how to grow big biceps. And of course, there's a million things out there, advertisements, whatever, trying to click here to get big arms, whatever. So I would
All right.
find something. I'd find something that looks legit, and then that would take me down a rabbit hole. I would figure out like the brachialis muscle increases this, whatever. So I would then I'd figure out the word hypertrophy. So then I would like Google, brachialis hypertrophy. And so that would get a little bit more scientific, and then I'd find something else. And it always led me to old school guys. It always led me to the old school physiques. So that grew my interest in those guys. I mean, I watched Pumping Iron years ago, like whenever I was in like middle school. I watched Pumping Iron and I saw those guys and I liked it. But so I kind of already had an idea and liked those physiques. But yeah, doing my research to try to develop my own physique led me down the path of, and if I was researching arms, calves, legs, like whatever it was, it always led me down to some old school goat. And so then whenever I wanted to compete, I started looking at like the best men's physique guys. I found Jeremy Buendia, and my mindset was always like, not like this guy is so much bigger than me, but he's holding his body in a certain way.
Right.
So it's like, how do I hold my body like that? And so then I started, like, I would just be in the mirror. I was single, didn't have as much going on at the time. So I would just be at home, just in the mirror, whatever, all the time, like just all the time. And then eventually bought a tripod and had my phone set up and be doing that. But I was always looking at myself and always trying to like fix my hips a certain way. Like Jeremy Buendia, he twists his hips hard, super hard.
Mastermind of it. Like, it's crazy.
And so I just was trying to emulate that. And then basically I got to a point where I felt like I had the posing, like I had the angles and stuff kind of figured out. But then at that point I needed to develop my physique. So it's kind of like been back and forth. And then I started some posing coaching a couple years ago with just men's physique. And really, the more coaching that I've done, the better I've gotten, because I realized that like each time that I'm posing with somebody, especially when I'm like moving around and doing like routine type work and stuff like that, it's like practice for me. Like I realized things about the posing that I didn't know that I was doing instinctually. Like there's one transition that I do that it's just like swinging a baseball bat. And I had no idea that it was like that until I tried to show it to somebody. And so just realizing all these things just makes me better and better. And like you said, I'm just continue to get better and better because of that. So,
and just to let y'all know, if you're watching or if you're listening, I will link all the ways to contact Jonathan in our description. If you need coaching, you want to follow him, do that. Real quick, man, I'm actually about to share my screen just so for the people that are watching can take a look. Can you see that?
Yeah.
All right. So this is just a little bit of what you're getting.
There's that baseball throw.
Yeah, I was about to say that's what you were talking about.
Yeah. And man, like, just so you know, like, you might understand this mindset, but like whenever you talk about rough diesel and stuff like that, like, bro, I see this and I feel like this is trash compared to that. Right. So like I've got so much work to do that I just, there's no telling what I can eventually get to as long as I stick with it.
Right. And that's one of the reasons I said, as far as the development, bro, you crazy shredder right there too. My bad. I lost track of watching what you were doing, but all right, we're back. So, and that's one thing I said though, because you're constantly evolving and constantly developing, which is why I would say like I said, and I'm just being honest, Terrence Ruffin to me is the best poser in the world.
Oh yeah, maybe he's one of the best of all time.
Right. But I say that because I know his career is starting, like he's young, so he's still like going to get better. But what I see from you and your ability to continue to get better, and you're doing this in the division is relatively new, I feel like you'll get to that point. And like you said, you're focused on it, you concentrate on it, you know how to do things, and now with you coaching, you're further developing. So what's some advice that you can give to a person who's looking to get into classic and they're working on their posing, besides hire me, because I agree with that?
To get into classic physique?
Yeah.
Well, man, you got to be honest with yourself first, and this is with any bodybuilding category. I mean, from female to male, bikini to bodybuilding, you got to be honest with yourself and where your physique is at and what you're going to be capable of creating, and the timeline too. So like if you're the type of guy, like and it's really, this is like the hardest thing with training sometimes, because we all have our favorite things that we do and whatever. But like me, for example, I'm leg dominant,
Mhm.
and like I've got a decent back and stuff, and I've got like my upper body's not terrible, but I for the division especially, I need to kind of transfer that balance and put more up top. And me understanding that and being able to see that is helping me get closer and closer to that. A lot of people just they don't understand. They either somebody's not being honest with them or they're not being honest with themselves, and they don't understand. Like, yeah, like I know I love to do hack squat, but I really need to bring up these hamstrings. You know what I mean? And then whenever they do realize what body parts they need to bring up, a lot of people don't understand how to really train for that specifically, because there is a way. Like, it's not just like do legs twice a week. Like, no, like do these particular exercises in this order, and I will promise you results. Because classic physique is big on proportions. I mean, as any category, but it's got a certain look. Like,
Not men's physique.
no, but still, like even for men's physique, like there's a certain look. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like guys might be just, guys might just be trying their hardest to get like, I don't know, the biggest traps ever. You know what I mean? They're trying to get huge traps, but they want to be a men's physique. They want to go be a men's physique Olympian or whatever. And like, not that you can't have huge traps, but like, if you don't have the arms and the delts and everything else that you need, but so you get what I'm saying. But then, yeah, posing. Regardless of people hiring me, it's just now I'm realizing that it's an ongoing thing for me that I'm going to continue coaching people.
Right.
Not just like, I know that as far as a career, I'll be able to keep doing it, but I mean like one individual person hires me and they expect to be with me for like the duration of their competition, maybe their whole prep or maybe even their whole career or whatever. That's kind of odd to me,
Right.
because like I kind of started out like, okay, I can teach you these things and then you can go on and do whatever with it. But that's, some people are, to each their own. Like some people would rather have somebody to keep them in line and not have to worry about all that thinking. But that's what I think whenever I think like somebody tells me they want to be an IFBB pro. Hey, I've had guys DM me and be like, I want to follow in your footsteps and win the USAs. And I'm like, sweet, like go for it. And like I truly believe that it can be done, for the most part. Like most people can do whatever it is they want to do, but it's realizing what it's actually going to take to do that. And like I said, like I started out trying to position my body in certain ways because I knew these guys were doing that, instead of most guys starting out like, well, let me get huge first because everybody else is huge. Well, no, that's the thing, is like they're not as huge as you think. I mean, they know how to hold themselves. That's the thing. So I think if somebody wants to get into classic physique, the first thing they should do is start posing.
Yeah.
The first thing. I mean, even if they're like for some reason holding off on training hard, whatever, pose now, because you could pose right now, and that's something that makes a difference. Like it can make a direct difference in first or second place.
Right.
Just
Right.
posing. So
one of the things you said is kind of what I've spoken, as you've seen, to several different types of fitness people over these last couple of weeks. But the one thing that I continue to reiterate is surface level. Like everybody sees Jonathan, they see the posing, they see the physique, they see the Mr. USA. I want that. But are you willing to put in that work that's behind the scenes that it takes to get that? Right. Even with, like, I know one of the things we've talked about, just not on here, but, as just discussing, is you need to grow. You said that I need to get my upper body, you need to catch up. Yeah. And the amount of food that you're eating to do that hurts my stomach looking at that sometimes. And I know you got like a great metabolism, so I'm jealous of that in the first place. But as far as training goes, when you're trying to reach that level of goal, how do you approach that from a routine standpoint? And I'm not saying you got to break down like every day you're doing, but you said like you realize that I need to work on my upper body. My lower body is a little bit dominant. So how are you approaching that?
Okay. So we're talking about like a split, or like when you actually go into the gym, like how's the routine set up?
Whatever you want, bro.
So, well, I would say both of those things are important as far as like developing your physique,
Okay.
like figuring out what type of frequency is going to be necessary, and then what type of intensity is going to be necessary, and then understanding where you're at with food. Like if you're in the middle of prep, like you might be doing some research and you're 12 weeks out and you discover something that shows you like, hey, this is the best way to grow your quads. And it's talking about do all these crazy squats and blah blah blah, but you're 12 weeks out or you're 10 weeks out or whatever. Like that's probably not the best time to employ that. You know what I mean? You're not going to be able to grow this muscle like you're thinking, just because of where your food is at. So yeah, all those things are important, but I really feel like it's about getting in a good groove, like just figuring out what you like to do. And then, just like, for example, there's certain exercises that, you might use the machine totally wrong. Like you might use it how nobody ever intended for this machine to be used this way, but you get a great contraction from it. Awesome. Okay. Keep doing that. Don't switch up from that. If you get a great feeling and you feel super strong in a certain move, keep up with that, as long as it aligns with how you want to develop your physique. But that's one of the biggest things, all across the board in every aspect of bodybuilding is, making it fit you.
Right.
Because that's something I had to accept for myself, especially after the USAs. Because after USAs, I kind of wanted to quit, bro. Like I was run down. Like I just like felt like I was like, I did all this and like, I got a pro card, that's cool, but like nothing else in my life changed. And so, obviously it's coming later based off of more work that I've put in and can continue to put in. But yeah, like I had to figure out how to make this whole bodybuilding thing more of a lifestyle instead of an event, or like a certain time frame, a prep, instead of just like, okay, I'm going into prep, let me change my whole life.
Right.
Instead of that, it's like, how can I sustain this all the time, nonstop? And so there's some things that I do, that some of your top coaches out there might disagree with, but it works for me. That's mainly food. I don't always eat 100% clean, but I mean, it works for me. So I'm going to keep doing it, and it keeps me sane.
It's definitely working. So anybody's got to question that.
Yeah, I've got a good metabolism, so not everyone can be just like that. But like I said, it's all about finding like what works for you. So because I noticed like the guys in the old school days, especially like the 80s and 90s, like it's not like those guys didn't transform their life like a lot of people are trying to do now. They were just athletes and they were just in the gym going, just being savage. And like for some of them, competition, being Mr. Olympia, some of that stuff was the last thing on their mind.
Right.
They just want to be the biggest and the freakiest and the prettiest that they could possibly be, and then realize, well, okay, I'm right on track. So that's kind of how that's how I want it to be. Like, especially when I quit my job and I'm no longer selling cars and all I do is bodybuilding, fitness related stuff. It's nice for me to be able to sit back and be like, damn, like this is really my life. Like I'm really a bodybuilder for real. Like that's what I do.
So one of the things you like, as far as training goes, and you mentioned it, as far as knowing your goal, know what you do. My coach, I recently went out to Dallas about a month ago. We had like a team seminar. He brought everybody out there. We actually so Sandy Williamson was there. She went over some posing stuff for us, some of the stuff judges look for. It was pretty informative, but we worked out and he like literally was like, Julian, I'm gonna need you to stop trying to deadlift cars. Like there's just no point in it. He was like, first of all, your back is already where it would be anyway. He was like, so you're risking injury and there's just no point in it. And he showed me a couple of movements that were more contraction, slowing down the eccentric,
and
really squeezing.
Probably takes less energy to do.
Energy, but more pump. Like I could feel it more. And I was just like, oh my God, like He's right. But
Oh yeah,
my ego, I want to go in the gym and be the damn king of the jungle. Like I want y'all to see that I can do this. So I feel that, man, because it that's more to me of a focus of knowing that, yeah, I could probably go bench 400 pounds, but let me put 275 on here, slow it down, and really get a good movement out of it, like you said.
Yeah, for sure. That's as far as my coaching, and a lot of the guys, a lot of people I don't see, or I feel like it'd be, we'd be even more efficient. But sometimes I'll just be in the gym, maybe I'm training somebody else and I see one of my other clients in there or whatever it is. And I'll see, like, I got this one dude in particular, my buddy Zach. And this dude is just like, he just likes to go hard. He just likes to train hard as shit. And he's natural too. So the thing is, like, so I've had to tell him, like, bro, you got to chill out. You got to calm down with that because, like, you got to be able to recover by the time you get to your next workout. You know what I mean? And then there's other people I work with. Mindy McCormick. She's kind of getting
ready. Just found out that she was on your team.
Well, it's not officially yet. We just basically just like kind of sharing ideas at this point. She does all her own stuff pretty much, and I've given her a training plan, and if she follows it, that's great. But she's doing all her own stuff. We just kind of share ideas at this point. But she is planning on working with me for later in the year for her wellness debut. And she's the type that is just, again, she's a worker. Like she'll go nonstop if you let her. And so, I've just had to tell her too, like, slow down. You know what I mean? Like, don't go doing all that stair stepper. Don't go, just sit down and chill for a second. Go eat 2 extra bagels, chill out. But
right.
That's just how it is for a lot of people. Like people, especially that do this sport, they have this like savage type of mindset, and it's like, you think like, hey, I'm going to do whatever it takes, or I'm going to go all out. And that it might be illustrated a little bit differently than like what you really need to do.
Right.
So anyways, yeah.
Okay. Let's reverse that then. Let's not go with the overworker in the savage mode. Let's go with the complete opposite of the person who can't stay on diet, don't work hard. How do you approach that?
So I'll be honest, as a coach, whenever somebody can't stay on diet, I'm not going to do a whole lot. I mean, that's up to you, bro. Like if you don't want your results, then okay. That's when it comes to food. So I will say, like, things that I do, I'm not going to just like straight give up right off the bat. A lot of times I'll try to switch it. Like, hey, let's switch it to something else. Let's switch it up. But if it's a constant issue, then it's like, okay, just like, what do you want me to do? Like how, like, I have no clue what to do, especially if I have already tried a couple things. But really I think people that are wanting to do the shows and stuff, I think that's kind of not so hard to commit to, especially for like a lot of beginners. It's like they're like excited and like ready to try something new. And so it's not as hard to stick to. I feel like for me, it took a couple preps for me to just be like, man, fuck this. Like, I don't want to eat this food. But because I was just so dedicated at first, where I was like, I'll do like anything, whatever it takes. And then you go through one that just kills you and you're like, man, I got to do that again. And so anyways, I've switched some of my stuff up because of that. But training wise, a lot of people don't go nearly as hard as they can go, especially, a lot of people train by themselves. And I get that. I train by myself a lot of the time too. And you can't go to failure every time. But that's where it comes down to, like, maybe you need to go do the hammer strength press instead of bench press so you can go to failure.
Right.
Maybe you need to do Smith machine squat instead of regular squat so you can go to failure.
Right.
And people are scared sometimes. I'm not going to say they're always scared. Sometimes they just think that they're just doing it good enough.
Right.
I mean, like, oh, that was a good set. But that's not, like, good to me is like I'm cussing and pissed off because it hurt. Yeah, but people just got to be shown. Even myself, I'm nobody super special. I just like I've been shown that. I've been able be with some different trainers and stuff that showed me like, okay, no, I wasn't going hard when I thought it was. So yeah,
let
that's
me ask you this, and I'll use myself as an example first. So I have a tendency, which you have seen, because everybody has seen it, I get fat because I don't care. I eat whatever. And I
yeah,
think one of my biggest downfalls is because I've done that and then I've gotten in shape to get on stage, I'm okay with doing that because I've done it before.
yeah,
So I'm like, oh, well, it don't matter. I know when I need to really put down or put in the work, I'll get back to where I need to go. And I
yeah.
think that's prohibited me from being a great athlete because of that mindset. Have you ever ran into that yourself as far as the high metabolism? You know what I'm saying? Being able to eat a lot. I know you don't get big, but have you ever, because I don't want to say that this comes easy to you because it doesn't, but your genetics, you're gifted. Like you are gifted when it comes to the sport. So have you ever had to work through that, like that type of mindset?
I mean, I'm the same way. Honestly, this time period right now. So last year there was like 8 weeks where I was perfect. I mean, I was perfect with my off season, and I mean that was life changing. But aside from that, this is the only time I've ever really stuck on the course the whole time. Because, and the reason being is because like, I didn't have to make some crazy lifestyle change to start getting into competition shape.
Right.
So the first time I ever did a prep, so the thing is, like, I started off with, the understanding of macros and all that type of stuff. The first show I ever did, I prepped myself and I ate straight macros the whole time. I'm talking about Chick-fil-A, Panda Express, protein bars, all that stuff. And I didn't look, fantastic, but I looked pretty good for not
Right.
knowing anything and doing it like that. So me understanding that kind of puts me in the same mindset. Like it's okay. Like if it's off season, it's okay for me. I feel like it's okay for me to just go splurge and eat a bunch of food. Uh, I mean, for a couple of reasons, because I know I can get back to normal, but also like not only just get back to normal, but I know that if I eat clean for like 5 days, that'll go away and you'll never be able to tell. And so that's just because I have really good metabolism. But yeah, I'm the same way for sure.
Okay. Good deal. Good deal. So, um, when it comes to bodybuilding, you said you've already kind of told us what got you into the sport. Where do you see yourself going in this sport now? I know you're trying to create a lifestyle. We're going to talk about that. But as far as bodybuilding itself, what is your ultimate end game? What is your goal?
So, I've said this, I've done a couple of interviews. I know in one interview in particular, I said that I said if classic stays classic, I'll be one of the greatest ever. So from a competition standpoint and the competitor standpoint, it really just depends like how long my physique is going to hold up because I've gotten injured a few times throughout. I mean, I've only been competing since 2017 and I've been injured a few times during that time. I already had a few injuries coming in. So it just depends on how long my body will hold up. But the thing is, I still believe I could be one of the greatest ever because if it's not through competing, then I'm going to make my mark in posing and training athletes because I can already tell, I've only been training athletes for a short amount of time. And I can just tell that I'm on the right track, basically. Whenever an athlete's after a certain look, I feel like I know how to lay out a plan to get there. So it just comes down to executing the plan and putting in the work. But I think classic physique is going to continue to rise and probably be the most popular division. And I also think that wellness will become the most popular female division. And just based on like my training style and stuff, and I actually have a couple wellness girls I'm working with right now. It's going well with. I think I can do well in training athletes in both of those categories, as well as other categories, but mostly those categories, probably men's physique too. And I think if I can keep that up and just keep the mindset of just being as efficient as possible, then I think I can become one of the best coaches ever. So just as long as I stick with it. But I don't know, my end game has always been pretty much that, just be a familiar name.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like people know what I'm about.
Right.
So, and like whenever I don't know, you think of Kenny Wallach or you think of Chris Aceto, you know what I mean? Like I want to be one of those guys.
Right.
But not just I don't want to be like, oh, you know, JT, he's just like Chris Aceto. I don't want that. I want to just be my, like I said, I like guys that put their own stamp and just they're kind of their own figure in whatever it is. So I think I can be that. Like whenever you start having conversations about old school guys and you're talking about, you know, Frank Zane and then blah, blah, blah got second and third and fourth. You know, I think I can be in that conversation whenever people are looking back on this era.
Right. For sure. So it's obvious in hearing you talk, you have a belief in yourself and a confidence that I'm sure a lot of people would want. Is that something that you've developed? Is that something that you've always had? And if you have developed it, what got you to where you are now as far as believing in JT and what you have the power and ability to do?
Failure. Going to failure.
Yeah.
not just in the gym, but in other aspects of life. And that's like I came from like living on food stamps and welfare. And my mom, she's clean now, been clean for a few years, and I'm super proud of her. But she was not doing the right things whenever I was young, and so I didn't believe in too much whenever I was young. But I have always been the type of person that once I do believe in something, that faith is strong.
Right.
It's real strong. And so like I learned some principles from some coaches, especially the coaches, because I played all the sports and stuff. That was all I did. I learned some good principles from those guys. And then just growing up, like basically I've always fucked up just enough to where it can teach me my lesson.
Right.
It's kind of how I see it. So
Jail,
like
but it's like
not
jail, but it's like a good slap on the wrist to be like, wake up.
Exactly.
Been there too, bro. Same place.
Yeah. So like just little things like whenever I was coming up, like I said, super small town, and just I didn't know nothing about reality, but I was good at football, and I was like, I'm going to the NFL.
Right.
Whatever. I'm going to the NFL. And it's weird, man. Like, so I don't want to like use the words law of attraction too much because people can take that way far and start relating it to all this other weird religious stuff. But I do believe in self-belief and manifestation. And whenever I was young, whenever I was in high school, my dad went to UCO. And I'd been up there with him a couple times, and I was like, okay, I like this, and not too far from home. And I had this girlfriend at the time that was a couple years older than me, and she was talking about maybe transferring to UCO to be closer to home. And I was like, yeah, do that, and I'm gonna play there. And like at this time, I never even talked to him or anything. And long story short, I got 0 offers from anywhere except UCO.
Right.
And I went to UCO, played there, and real quick got opened up to reality because I hurt my knee my freshman year playing at UCL. I hurt my knee, and you know, at that time I was always the type of kid that I never did my schoolwork, and it would be like the last week of the 9 weeks, and the teacher would be like, "Hey, we got to do all this," and me and all my friends would huddle up and just copy off each other and get all the assignments done. Well, in college you can't do that. And they had these study halls and stuff for the football team. You had to go to study hall at 6 a.m. if you didn't have a certain grade, whatever. Or if you're a freshman, the only way to get out of it is if you have it over this grade. Well, I was faking my teacher's signatures just to get out of that.
Right.
And so I was, you know, I've always been able to like sneak by and like, you know, like I tricked my coaches into thinking my grades are good enough. You know, I trick, you know, whoever it is into giving me whatever opportunity. And then, so I got hurt. And whenever I got hurt, I just started partying, and I just kept that mindset of, oh yeah, I can just keep faking the grades. I can keep slipping by. And I failed a couple classes. And then when I failed the classes, it got real. I lost my scholarship. And then I enrolled in school again, not understanding how the financial aid works. And they didn't pay for my school and then it was too late to get it handled. So anyways, long story short, I messed up the only thing I had going for me. And then, I just got super down on myself. And then just little jobs here and there. Like I had this one boss that was he was just crazy, man. Like he was like an ex-Marine, and he was just in your face, like telling you you're a piece of shit. And like, that really messed me up. Like, I really thought I was just like a piece of shit, like just nobody. And that was that was my first job selling cars. And so because I was interested in sales as well, because first off, I saw how much money could be made, but then I realized that it was a skill and that people learned how to sell and how to make that money and how to use certain word tracks and blah, blah, blah. And so I started going down that path of like trying to figure out how to sell, and just like reading little self-help, little sales books and stuff like that. Kind of, it showed me that I'm in control of those type situations. And then, just that mixed with just trying to find myself as a young adult, just trying to figure out like religion and stuff, and like, looking up all kind of, even some psychedelic drugs, like just trying to figure myself out. I stumbled across like the law of attraction and, manifestation, and just how powerful your own mind can be. And once I figured that out, it just came down to figuring out what I'm going to put all my energy into. So for a while after that, I thought it was going to be selling cars, and I put a lot of energy in that, and it kind of messed some things up for me in my life. But then, once I started working out again and I got serious with it, then it was easy. Like I knew, ever since like I very first started working out and like I started trying to turn my social media into a fitness page, I knew that I would be here at this point. It was just that, and you realize that each time that you level up and something happens, it's like, wow, I did it. It's like a surprise, but you knew you were gonna do it. It's weird. It's like
it's funny, bro, because the girl that I had. My bad. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So it's funny because the girl that I had on yesterday talked about the laws of attraction. So I don't know if that's God giving me my my signal to like I might need to look into this, because back-to-back days, both of the people on the show have brought up laws of attraction. So I do believe in it. And I think it's too many people that you see. I'll give examples. Conor McGregor. Like, everybody thought he was crazy when he first started, because he said he was going to be a champion. Mm-hmm. He said he was going to do this. He was going to make the money. But if you really believe in yourself like that enough, I do believe you'll manifest that. And I would argue that, obviously, I know we're different religion-wise, but in the Bible, there's even scripture and verse that would actually back that. It's talking about belief, faith.
Well, if you're okay with getting into that a little bit, I mean, in my perception, and like I don't want to offend people by saying this, but I'm going to say it because I do believe this. But in my perception, that's what religion is the law of attraction. But people figured out how to channel it in a specific way. So like prayer, for example, that's why the power of prayer can be so powerful sometimes, because people all get on the same mindset and they believe without a shadow of a doubt, and they put this energy into the universe and it becomes truth. Right. And that's all that it is. It really helped me to realize it once again whenever I got my pro card and won the USAs, because I don't know, like that's a big deal. You know what I mean? Like that's a big deal to go a couple years ago. Like I think I want to compete, and then I'm thinking about like, okay, well I want to be USA champion. Like that's kind of a big deal, and like I just would tell myself like I'm gonna win. Like, I'm going to win. And honestly, so I was working with Bryce Pacheco for a little bit when I first started getting serious in bodybuilding. And he was the first one that put that in my mind. He told me, like, we're going to go win the USAs. And so I just, okay, like, yeah, we are. And I just believed it. And then so because I believed it, I trained that much harder. Like I would train and I'd be like, I'm squatting and I got 3 reps left in me, but I'm about to rack it. And I'm thinking to myself, like, would Mr. USA rack it? Like, would Samir Bannout drop this weight right now? That's how I'm always talking to myself. And it's because I hold myself to that standard because I believe in it. So it's not even, I mean, it's called the law of attraction for a reason. It's not an option. Everybody's doing it all the time, but they're not doing it on purpose necessarily. So
For sure, for
definitely,
sure.
bro, that's what's at.
Yeah, that's actually those are some gems right there. That'll definitely be in the snippet preview that I put for everybody to see. That was good stuff. So, one of the things that I've seen recently and following your social media is the steps you're taking on, like you said, making this it. So this is how your income, this is your life, this is everything. I know from I don't have much experience in that, but I have enough people around me that have had experience in taking that step. And I know that's a hard step to take, number one. It could be a lot of fear tied to that due to the fact that you're getting ready to try to make this your sole income. And in your case, you got kids, you got a girl, like you got the whole thing that weighs on that. So that process of making posing and online coaching your sole income, what was that like? I know you're still going through it. Any tips for people? Like, obviously, laws are still there, so you can talk about that again if you want to as well.
Yeah, it definitely you definitely got to believe in yourself, but it's just not that easy because like whenever it's a bodybuilding show, like you got no choice. The time is going by and you're gonna have to show up. But whenever it comes to making life choices, career choices and stuff, like that's all up to you to pull the trigger. And really, man, I was kind of I'm blessed to be in the position I am because I've kind of been forced into this lifestyle. And obviously it's what I want to do. I'm not saying forced with like any negativity at all, but like the reason I really wanted to quit my job was because like selling cars, I'd be sitting up there and just feel like I'm wasting time, like just sitting up there for hours. And maybe even I'll get a customer for a couple hours and then you don't sell them the car and you're like, wow, like I just wasted all that time. And I don't know. I feel like sales is a big mindset thing as well. So I was just turned off by the whole sales gig. So I just was not doing well. I just couldn't make any money. I wasn't selling any cars. Like I just wasn't doing well. So I started doing more and more posing coaching, and I just didn't have time for it. And so then I started telling myself, like, man, like I have to make time for this. I have to figure it out. And I've always wanted to train people, but I just didn't have time. I already had a job. And online coaching really, really helped me a lot because once I was able to start online coaching, I could kind of do both at the same time, especially when I was selling cars. I could be sitting up there and just be on the computer for hours and nobody say nothing to me. And so I was lucky as far as that goes. But man, I was starting to, man, I'm telling you, like, it's hard to even tell people to like give advice or anything because like how I did it is not like ideal.
Right.
Like I just like stopped going to work. Like I just started showing up super late to work. Like I would go train in the morning and maybe I'd show up a little bit late and then I wouldn't be able to finish my whole workout. And most of the time I would just cut it short and go to work. Well, now I'm not doing that. I got to finish. I got to finish everything I'm doing. I got to finish my whole workout. So if I'm 30 minutes late to work, whatever. And then whenever I was 30 minutes late to work all the time, nobody said nothing to me. So it was like, it was real hard for me to show up to work on time ever now. So then I was late to work every day and I was training late every day. And then sometimes I'd wake up and be like, and I'd just go to work and I would just leave work in the middle of the day and go train for a couple hours without even saying nothing to anybody and then just come back. And man, so I was starting to just get like super lazy on my job. And I was starting to get to where I was going to put myself in a position to where I'm going to get fired and just be screwed because I haven't started getting business going on this other stuff yet. So one day I was sitting here in my garage and I was just thinking, and I was like, man, I was about to start getting ready for work. And I was like, man, you know what? was like, I make this much money in this time frame at work. Because I had a pretty good week with like signing up clients, online coaching, and I was like, I made this much money in this time frame doing this. I was like, you know what? If I can make this amount of money before my shift starts tomorrow, I'm quitting. I'm never going back. And it happened. I set a mark. I think it was like $300 because I'm not rich. I ain't got all kind of money.
Right.
Selling cars, I get a guaranteed pay of like $3,000 a month, and that's gross.
Right.
So I just look at that. If you got 30 days in the month, there's $100 a day. Obviously, don't work the weekends, but whatever. So I would tell myself, like, if I can make $100 a day doing this, then I can replace my income. And if I can replace my income, then why would I not quit it? And so that's what happened. I told myself, I was like, if I can make $100 a day or $100 before my shift starts today, I'm not going back. And I actually made $100 more than that. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I just like, at that moment, I just decided like, I'm not going back to work ever again. And that's what I did.
That type of work.
Right. And then, man, to be honest with you, like I said, it's hard to give advice or anything because this wasn't ideal, but I struggled for a little bit. Like I got behind on some credit cards. It was not ideal. I was broke, super broke for a minute. Whenever the quarantine stuff was going on and we were like in and out of gyms and people were unsure, like, dude, I was like so unsure how I was going to pay one single bill for that month. And then it just worked out. Like that's the law of attraction type stuff. Like I've always said when friends talk to me about starting businesses or whatever, I always say, like, think back to the old phrase, if you build it, they will come. Mm-hmm. So if I didn't offer online coaching, I never would have been able to get out of that position. So it's just self-belief and just going for it.
Right. So and what's great, you kept saying that it's not ideal, but to me it's ideal in the sense that people need to hear from perspectives of making that your sole income. Because again, I think this is probably going to be my thing moving forward. The surface level, the social media, everybody sees that and they want that, but they don't know that you had to go through what you go through, not losing a job, but quitting your job, going through the struggle, not knowing where money was coming from to be able to get to the point you're at. A lot of people not willing to work, to that point.
What's funny? What's funny, something that I think about all the time, especially because I sold cars. So I was always around nice cars. The gym I go to is like, it's the NPC Oklahoma Gym of the Year for years and years.
Star?
4-star.
Star, yeah.
4-star fitness. So yeah, all the main people go there, and we got a lot of great trainers, and there's some people with money that go there. There's some people, pulling up in, Porsche. Just a bunch of nice vehicles, and then like you got Mr. USA. Davis. you got Mr. USA, IFBB Pro, whatever titles you want to attach to try to make me look good, and I'm rolling up in my Toyota Corolla, and like that's just something that I could have a nice car if I wanted to, but just being straight up, like I'm not the most efficient and most disciplined person in the world. I'm not the guy that could, because I could have went and sold cars and been real successful. I got a friend that is in finance, and he sent me a check a couple of months ago. He made $18,000 in 1 month, and like I could have dedicated myself and went down that path, but it would have just been empty. I wouldn't have been happy whatsoever. And so, I'm okay with. You're talking about the surface level thing, and it's mostly like a social media thing.
Yeah.
Because even people locally around here, they don't really know me like
right.
that. And so they might see on the surface level that, I'm super successful and blah, blah, blah. And I'm bringing this up because I think about all the time, especially when I have new clients or whatever, and I'm rolling up to the gym and, they're expecting, JT physique, and here I roll up my Corolla and, dusty ass windows. And it's just, obviously that's not the person, but it's just, you kind of get what I'm saying. Like they expect one thing and then something else, but I am everything that they want me to be, but it's not all sunshine and roses. Like like people might think. Like life is it's still real life. Like just because I'm a pro bodybuilder and I pose good and blah blah blah, like I'm still living real life.
Man,
So,
I tell people this story and everybody thinks I'm just being funny, and I'm not. So my relationship with my wife, like when we first started dating and talking, we set up our first date at a Starbucks. And like I'm nervous as heck. I think this girl's beautiful. I'm like, man, I can't mess this up. I like high maintenance. I got a whole bunch of money. Like, you know what I'm saying? And she pulled up with like a 1999 Ford Taurus. I'm like, yo, I got chance, bro. Like, I'm good, bro. But and I'm dead serious. That is not a joke. Like when I
yeah,
see that car, I'm like, man, she driving a go-kart. Like, yo, I'm good, bro. And then
yeah,
like literally all my nerves and everything left because I'm
yeah.
like, oh, this is a normal person. I know that sounds crazy,
No,
but
I
that
know
was my thought
That's
process.
exactly what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking
Yeah. So that no, that's very true. But okay, so let me ask you this: are you a car person since you sold cars? Is that something that
about.
you plan on doing?
No, no,
No.
no. I'm really not. You know, I got this Corolla that I mean, it's actually my girl's car, but I drive that because I have a Pilot and she usually drives that. But then I got this little '91 Honda Civic, and you know, as far as something vintage or whatever, like that's about as good as it gets. You know, I'm really not a I'm kind of weird, man. Like I'm not super into like anything like that, except for, you know, bodybuilding, really. And I'm not like, I don't know, I don't got posters everywhere. I got one of myself. But
Dope
I don't
shot too.
appreciate it. But I don't have all kind of like posters, and I don't have like a crazy ass home gym, and you know, I don't have the uh what are those squat shoes that look like
Oh
wrestling shoes?
God, I was mad. I know I was about to say
You know what I'm talking
Ottomans, but
about.
I know what you're talking. Right aware,
Yeah, so
right aware.
yeah, like them type of like, you know, I'm not even that hardcore,
Right.
but that's pretty much the only thing I'm really into, I guess.
So obviously, y'all can see behind me what I'm into. So, and that's my biggest vice. But I'm the same with you. I don't like cars. They
Yeah.
are for me to get the A to B. So I tell people I'll hop out my 2007 Honda Element with a pair of $300 shoes on. Sue
Yeah.
me. Like that's just how I am. And I shouldn't have the shoes that I got. Somebody gifted me those normally, and that's how it works. But so bodybuilding is life for you. Do you think that how you're approaching your next prep, because you're on prep right now, right?
Well, no, not really. I mean, so I'm technically 16, I'll be 16 weeks out as of I think Saturday.
Right.
And then so to be real with you, I just got blood work done yesterday. And we're waiting on blood work to come back, you know, before we 100% commit to anything. But the goal is to do Dallas Europa, so I'd be 16 weeks out come Saturday.
Goal is to get to Olympia this year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's not. I don't even want to call it a goal. Like that's the plan.
Plan. Okay, I like that. I actually just had a friend talk to me because he messaged me and he was like, "Yo, your podcast is gonna blow up, bro. Like, you're doing great." And I'm like, "Yeah, I hope so." And he was like, "Hope." Like, we're not talking like that anymore. So I
Right.
apologize. The plan is to get to Olympia. Hopefully, I can be there because I want to. If I've never been to Olympia, but if I get to Olympia and you competing there, that's fate. I'm just gonna say that. Like I said, you're one of my favorite competitors. So, um, are you gonna run the gauntlet this year if you have to, or is it kind of just we'll do a show or two and see how it goes?
Nah, bro, I'm gonna go get it.
There we go.
I'm gonna go get it. I was just talking to Cam this morning, and you know, I
Cameron,
was thinking,
right?
Cameron Cheek,
Yeah.
yes, sir, the young chemist.
Yeah.
Um, so I was just talking to him earlier because you know, since they announced the Olympia date, it kind of changed my thinking on when I might compete. But then Cam talked to me, and it makes sense that we're going to keep the same plan, even though the shows, you know, it's a pretty big gap in between Europa and the Olympia. That'd actually be better because I wouldn't have to, you know, be super. I don't want to say not be on point because I'm going to be on point. I'm going to be on the plan no matter what. But like I can increase my food,
Yeah.
maybe lessen cardio a little bit for a short gap. You know what I
Right.
mean? Maybe take out some supplements for just a short gap
Right.
and not have to be just killing myself that whole entire time. But anyways, yeah, bro, I plan on doing a couple shows at least. Like I'm going for Europa mostly because that's right down the street, and I like the timeline of it. And then what was right after that? Chicago Pro should be right after that, but they haven't announced the date for it. But we're just assuming that it's going to be around its normal time, sometime in mid-July. So, but then there's also a Puerto Rico show. There's a Tijuana show that somebody just tagged me in on Instagram. They're paying out 12 grand for that. So, yeah, I'll be on stage at least twice, and
Right.
then hopefully the Olympia will make it 3 times, but maybe 4 times. Who knows? But
For a take. So last thing, that hoodie, bro. That's a Limitless Apparel joint.
yes, it is.
I have to get one of those, man. I like that. It almost look like an oversized fit, bro. Like I like that.
Yeah, I love this brand, man. It's actually a good. Well, we've become pretty good friends because I was one of the first ones to shoot for him. But yeah, local brand, so I
Yeah,
definitely
right.
like
Is that his
that.
name?
Huh?
Hey, is
I'm sorry. Say that again.
that his name? TJ?
No, no, no. The owner of the brand is Juan. He's not very known, man. He's not like a. He doesn't post a lot of himself on social media or anything. But his name is Juan, and yeah, he just like I said, probably nobody that you've seen before, to be
Right.
honest.
Okay.
He
Just
just,
want to make so again, I'll link all this. So I'll link Limitless Apparels. You guys check them out. They got great stuff. Like I said, I need to get that hoodie ASAP because I got some shoes right here I'm looking at that'll match that perfectly.
yeah.
But yeah, I need to get some of that stuff too. But yeah, man. So, dude, it's been a pleasure having you on here, talking to you, picking your brain a little bit. Like I said, that law of attraction, and that must be my sign that I need to look into that more for back-to-back people to get it. But you got anything else you want to say? Anything you want to close with, man?
Man, I could probably think of a bunch of stuff to say, but no, man, I'm glad you had me on. Um, maybe we could do it again and talk about some more stuff.
Love that actually.
But no, yeah, we talked about some good stuff. So
Yeah, I
that
would
would be
think what I would like to possibly do with you, and I mean we can talk about this off air too, but I would like to maybe get some once your prep starts, some episodes of like maybe every 3 or 4 weeks of how that's going.
yeah, that'd be dope.
So people can hear what it takes as far as preps, the ups and downs, my weight dropped this week, but it didn't drop that week, so we had to make an adjustment type stuff because a lot of people don't really get that in-depth detail.
Right.
So that might be a good thing to do.
Hey, you know what? You know what might be a really good idea for the podcast is maybe trying to get Cameron on because
Man, I'm down for anybody, bro.
the
Yeah,
thing is like if we did that, it just made me think. Cameron is super super detail oriented, and he's got every base covered
right,
as far as like he does all this stuff through like Google documents or sheets and just it's all there. Anything you could think of, and he saves the data from week to week. And so, yeah, he'd be the perfect person to get on and talk to about data like that, and
right.
how things are going throughout a prep. So, but yeah, man, I'd love to do that. So just let me
Yeah,
know.
I'll reach out to him too. Y'all might have both y'all on. Might just do that
Sounds good.
or something to tell on yourself.
What was that? You cut out a little bit.
I said that way if you cheated on your diet or something, you tell on yourself. I get that
Oh
line.
man, I know, right?
But all right, man. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. For those listening, check the description. I'll have all his social media. I think he has 3. So you got the team, you got your physique page, and then you got just family, everyday type stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to link the family one because to be honest, I don't accept very many people. But
Cool. So just link those two.
yeah, JT Physique is me, and then JT Physique Team is the squad.
So I will link those in. And if you're watching on YouTube, I'll link that as well in the description. Be paying attention for any more updates. And like I said, next time we'll get on here, we might do like a Q&A and have some people asking questions that we can, address there. So I appreciate you, bro.
Yes, sir. Thank you.